Hello, dear friends. I'm not the only one who is fascinated by this special region. I long for times gone by, when supernatural phenomena were at the talk of the day. This is a summary because there is much more information that I'm giving. I cannot speak coldly because it is something I feel. Opinion piece. Mysterious Alpujarra, a paranormal region, land of legends and mysteries, attracting spiritual seekers. There is an unknown Alpujarra, Soportújar, the village of witches. There are treasures hidden by the Arabs. The legend of the Blood Ravine. A luminous cross appeared in Lanjarón. They saw a woman flying in Almejíjar. They saw a mermaid in the Caldera Lagoon. The patron saint of the Alpujarra appeared in a well. In quotes, "Give him alms, woman, there is nothing in life like the pain of being blind in Granada." What is about the Alpujarra region of Granada and Almería, the Spanish Tibet, that attracts spiritual seekers from all over the world? I have been asking myself this question for years, and I am intrigued by the subject because it is a mystery. Writers, musicians, artists, hippies, Buddhists, yogis, Sufis, witches, alchemists, and even solitary hermits live there. There is even a village dedicated to witches called Soportújar. I actually live in the Alpujarra mountains, so I'm not talking about something alien. Many people go to the Buddhist retreat center Oserling to live in isolation and retreat from the madding crowd, like Fray Luis de León. There are also some communities of foreigners dedicated to the practice of yoga, and in Órgiva there is a hippie commune called Beneficio. In Alhama de Almería there is the oldest lodge, and it's San Nicolás spa of sacred sulphurous water. In my opinion, this region fulfills the basic requirements of Chinese Feng Shui, which is mountains to the north and water to the south, which can be the river or the Mediterranean. In addition, its exposure to the sun means that snow melts easily in winter and doesn't turn to ice. I have no proof, but I sense that there is a community of immortals in some invisible village in the third dimension. Many people testify to having experienced altered states of consciousness in certain areas of the Alpujarra, where all kinds of spatio-temporal anomalies occur. This could be due to an alteration of the Earth's magnetism, or even to the existence of dimensional portals. According to Rafael Vilchez, the isolation suffered by the Alpujarra region until decades ago led over the centuries to many legends related to haunted houses, treasures, apparitions of souls in pain, and waters that heal many ailments. The patron saint of the Alpujarra herself has a mysterious origin. In Ujíjar, the so-called Pozo de la Virgen, well of the Virgin, is the place where tradition places the discovery of the carving of its Virgin, known as the patron saint of the Alpujarra in 1606. Legend has it that some saw the well light up and heard a voice saying, "Martyrdom is my name," or "Martirio is my name." Looking into the bottom of the well, the people of Jíjar found their patron saint and began to honor her in special procession. Poetry. In quotes, if we had to visit only one city in Spain, it should be Granada, wrote the American Ernest Hemingway. So did his compatriot Washington Irving, who, after having lived in the Alhambra for several months, wrote his Tales of the Alhambra, 1832. In quotes, I never in my life inhabited a more delightful place than this, and I can never find another equal it, he admitted on more than one occasion. Granada, land of my dreams, and sang the Mexican Agustin Lara, dreamed of because he never traveled to Granada. There is a phrase by the Mexican poet Francisco de Icaza that has always moved me very much. In quotes, "Give him alms, woman. There is nothing in life like the pain of being blind in Granada." These words can be found in the Alhambra between the Red Towers. They are tenderly dedicated to Frasquito, the blind guide who explained the Alhambra to tourists. And in quotes, a poem. "Today I look at that beggar who has sat on the pavement, who talks to himself, for there is no one to listen to him, and is saying prayers of pleading alms, with sadness in his eyes, and his lips wavering. And we pass by his side without even looking at him, as if he were a stinker, or an intruder in something else's house. But the street belongs to everyone, and he will have his reasons for finding himself so alone, without home or shelter. Give him alms, woman, give him an euro, good friend, for we can all be of life as beggars, and if he spends it on food, or spends it on drinking wine, don't blame him because he is not aware of destiny." The man stands up and unfolds a white cane. He is blind and cannot see that he is being looked at sideways. He picks up from the floor the cardboard on which he has been sitting, and looks for another corner where he can go on begging. Give him alms, woman, give him a euro, good friend, for he has not chosen to be blind and a beggar at the same time. Unknown area. There is an area of the Alpujarra where few people continue to visit. I call it the unknown Alpujarra, as it allows you to imagine that the villages that today receive many visitors were like 20 or 30 years ago. I recommend that you spend at least one day touring this area and visit Jubiles, Berchules, Mecina Bombarón, El Golco, Yegen, Valor, and Laroles. Jubiles is one of the smallest villages in the Alpujarra, and has everything the region has to offer with an extra dose of tranquility. Berchules is another village built on terraces, which makes the climb to the top of the village a little breathless. In Mecina Bombarón, if the day is clear, there are some very good views from the Sierra Nevada to the sea in the area of Adra. You can also see the Contraviesa and Gado mountain ranges. It has a beautiful chestnut forest. El Golco is a small village which is practically uninhabited, making it a haven of peace. Yegen is the town where Gerald Brennan lived for 14 years, so if you walk through its streets, you will see many references in his novel South of Granada. Valor is one of the smaller villages on a hillside. It has a beautiful Mudéjar church and a viewpoint. Apparitions. A legend says that in the middle of Sierra Nevada, in the Laguna de la Caldera, a seductive little mermaid appears on the rock to contemplate the landscape and at night to see the stars. Another legend says that the waters that flow from a fountain in Laroles, dating from 1681, are miraculous. And if you say a Hail Mary to the image to the Immaculate Conception attached to the top, you will gain 10 days of indulgence. Luminous crosses that appear and disappear, according to the neighbors, until recently, and for more than half a century, a mysterious luminous cross has been appearing on a mirror of a Lanjarón family living in Ceuta Street, in the frame mirror installed in their bedroom. According to Clandy, a Lanjarón resident, when the luminous cross appeared on the mirror of the Escobedo family, the village priest, Don Nicolás, rang the bells, and even the school children went to see it. Word spread that the cross had appeared in a house in Ceuta Street, and the whole village went to see it. In Almejíjar, the older people say that years ago a thin woman flew through the air without anything happening to her. It used to be customary for housewives to take lunch to their husbands when they worked in the fields. One very windy day, a woman set off with her basket of food in search of her man. Halfway along the way, her small body suddenly lifted off the ground and flew over a distance of more than 300 meters without anything happening to her. Also in Almejíjar, a relative who had died appeared to a neighbor to ask for his help to fulfill the promise he was unable to make when he died suddenly. In the village of Olías, they say that once a shepherd went into a cave in the Sierra de Lujar at the beginning of a storm. Before entering the cave, he saw a man who looked like a priest coming out of the cave. He told the shepherd not to worry and to make a wish. The shepherd replied, frightened, that all he wanted was a container to draw rainwater to drink from the holes in the rocks. The story goes that this mysterious personage, who was never heard of again, gave him a golden chalice, which was later deposited in the church of Olías and remained there until a few decades ago. Hidden treasures. Legend has it that in the municipality of Alpujarra, in the surroundings of the impressive Pared de los Moros, Moors wall, there are hidden golden skins. It is also said that in Jorairatar, near Alpujarra, there are buried in a cave several skins of gold nuggets from the area of Alpujarra, Alcolea and Laujar de Andarax. In Montenegro and El Golco, belonging to the municipality of Alpujarra de la Sierra, the ancients also told years ago that some people became rich and wealthy overnight. The same thing happened in Mecina Alfajar, Narila, Jubiles, Lanjarón, Barranco de Boqueira, at Albeitar, Albondón, Alcázar de Venus, Tímar, Laroles, Torbizcón, and Lujar. Another legend says that in hidden places in the Barranco of Boqueira, Barranco de Boqueira, the Sierra de la Contraviesa, Bérchules, Jubiles, Pórtugos, Traveles, Olías, Picena, El Golco, Mecina, Bombaro, Montenegro, Valo, Rujíjar, Turón, Murtas, Pitres, Burquistar, Lújar, Órgiva, Lanjarón, Torbizcón, Castras, Cadiar, and Lobras are hidden in impressive treasures of gold and precious stones. It is said that their owners, wealthy Moors, hid them before leaving the African coasts, so as not to end up in the hands of Philip II. One of these treasures appeared not long ago in the municipality of Busquistar. In Portuguese, there is a centenary house that has very good energies according to the connoisseurs, known as the House of Gunpowder. Well, very strange things have happened in this house situated next to an Arab cemetery. Apparitions of a living dead in the form of an illuminated halo, blackouts, the vision of a woman closing the toilet door even though the door was unhinged, spirit of a relative asking for help to pay a manda, a promise, which, when he died suddenly, couldn't be fulfilled with the miraculous Christ of the expiration of Orgiva. Also, in Portugal, another legend says that there are the so-called bocas del infierno, mouths of hell. These mouths, now half buried, spew out strong fresh air with a very strange smell, the effect of which causes the death of the birds and small animals that breathe it. Paranormal phenomena. Another legends say that it brings good luck to listen to the mysterious bells in the pits and caves of Lanjarón, Trevélez, Rubite, Albuñol, and Cañar. Tradition also has it that when a hen or her chicks suddenly appear outside the farmhouse, it means that there is something valuable hidden there. Between Bubion and Capileire, it is said that a hen and her chicks used to appear near a road, but they could never catch them no matter how hard they tried, because they would suddenly disappear and reappear several meters away. In another part of La Taja de Pitres, the old people say that the so-called Rosario de las Luces, Rosary of Lights, usually appears on the other side of the hill. Another legend says that the spirit of a young Moorish girl who was repudiated by her father because she fell in love with a Castilian wanders around the tower of the church of Bubion. Also, several years ago, a neighbor of Portugal's José Ruiz claimed that for more than half a century, in a deep place in Trevélez, there was hidden a chest full of jewels, gold and precious stones, hidden by a very powerful Moor. Apparently, this great fortune, as he dreamt and later confirmed by a fortune teller, belonged to the wealthy Aben Jaubar, uncle of Aben Umeya, who died in his house in Portugal, in the now disappeared neighborhood of Madin. José Ruiz said that the Spanish Civil War broke out when he was on the point of finding the treasure of the Peñón del Fraile, after digging and finding a crack in the rock, and he and his family had to move to Bubion. After the war, José Ruiz went back up the mountain to the place of the treasure, and saw that many tons of rocks and earth had fallen over the cave. Even so, he began to work again, but had to stop because of lack of money to pay the workers. Witches. Soportújar, the village of witches. The Alpujarra was once famous for its witches and goblins. Soportújar was the village where there were many witches, warlocks, and sorceresses. It is said that these characters possessed books of fortune and other treatises on healing, fortune-telling, and luck, and cured a host of problems with various utensils, drinks, and fruits of the field. Among other things, the witches placed a bone or ivory amulet around children's necks to protect them from the evil eye and other curses. Those were different times. According to Macu Llorente, Soportújar has made witches its hallmark. This town in Granada is a village with charm and mystery, where everything is flooded with fantasy. There is no place in the village that doesn't evoke these witches, whether in the squares, viewpoints, or caves, or even in the restaurants. Everything is dedicated to them. Legend has it that it was the Galicians who repopulated Soportújar after the reconquest and expulsion of the Moors from the territory, who brought to this village stories of magas and pagan legends, chosen by witches and sorcerers to hold their secret meetings. Even today, this town in the Alpujarra is marked by enchantment and esotericism. esotericism. In fact, there are a couple of festivals a year where they are the protagonists. With the witch Baba Yaga is a Nordic sorceress with blue eyes and a toothless smile who welcomes visitors. She is in the entrance to this themed village where reality meets fiction. A sculpture that is the work of José Vera, and that, according to legend, had a house with hen's feet in which she travelled. But the magic is not only provided by the sculpture. The surroundings, with a beautiful panoramic view of the water in the background, give a good idea of the beautiful part of the Alpujarra in which we find ourselves. Walking through the village, you can take a themed route through each of its streets. Along the way, dragons, snakes, and even huge spiders come out in our path. From the Plaza de Abastos down Calle Estación, another surprise awaits you. La Fuente del Dragón, Dragon Fountain, whose waters have aphrodisiac properties and stimulate fertility. And nearby, one of the most famous places in the village, the famous fountain of the two witches who are preparing a magic potion in a large cauldron. One of the main points of this magical route in Soportújar is La Cueva del Ojo de la Bruja, Witch's Eye Cave, hidden next to the ravine, an area that was used to scare the little ones so that they would not stray far from the village, with the warning that the mantequeros, men who stole butter, and the odd sorcerer lurked there. Next to the ojo, there is a bridge, or to the eye, there is a bridge said to be enchanted, which leads to the cemetery. Although there are several viewpoints in the area, the Aquelarre is the one that offers the most spectacular views of Soportújar. Not only will you be able to admire this village in all its splendor, but it is also a good opportunity to test your eyesight and find the elements scattered around the area that are related to the Megas. And before leaving the village, an important recommendation: stop by the Pozo de los Deseos, or Wishing Well, to cast a coin to avoid bad luck on your return journey. The ravine of the ravine of the blood, the ravine of Gully of La Sangre, ravine or Gully of La Sangre, is located in the Alpujarra, separating the Tajas of Boqueira and Peters. The A4132 road crosses the ravine, although there are several versions of the legend of the Blood Ravine. They all tell, roughly speaking, that in this place there was a battle in which so much blood was shed in the rebellion of the Moors that the ravine was dyed red and rivers of blood flowed through it. It was this event that gave rise to the toponymy. The legend has been collected by different gazetteers throughout history. The rebellion of the Alpujarras was a conflict that took place in Spain between 1568 and 1571, during the reign of Philip II. The large Moorish population of the Kingdom of Granada took up arms in protest against the Pragmatic Sanction of 1567, which limited their cultural freedoms. When the royal power succeeded in defeating the rebels, it decided to deport the surviving Moors to various parts of the rest of the Crown of Castile, whose Moorish population grew from 20,000 to 100,000. Because of the severity and intensity of the fighting, it is also known as the War of the Alpujarras. Each period adapted the fable according to the prevailing ideology. For example, in the 16th and 17th centuries, After the expulsion of the Moors, in a society dominated by Christianity, and where cleanness of blood was fundamental to hold any public office, it was said that Divine Mercy wanted the blood of the Christians to flow up the ravine to prevent it from mixing with the blood of the Saracens, which flowed down the ravine. Here, the blood of the Christian martyrs ascends towards heaven, while the Arab blood succumbs to hell. Close quotes. During the 19th century, a period dominated by scientific thought, the tradition changed. In quotes, the blood shed by the Christians ran down the glen, as was natural, while that of the Moors ran upwards. The truth is that the cause of the characteristic coloring of the glen of the blood is the abundance of iron ore, which is evident when the runoff waters flow through the place, tinting everything in vivid reddish and orange colors. These colors are truly striking in Fuente Agria, Portugal. Years later, during the Spanish Civil War, both sides clashed in this ravine, giving rise to the following poem. If you want to write me, you know my whereabouts, in the Blood Ravine, front line of fire. In the Blood Ravine there is a fire burning, so that those opposite can see where the artillery is, and those opposite said, we have to fry you with early little tomatoes that we brought from Guadix. Description. The Alpujarra is a historical region of Spain divided between the provinces of Granada and Almería, comprising the southern slopes of the Sierra Nevada and the Sierras of Lujar, La Contraviesa and Gádor. The highest village in Granada is Trevélez at 1,479 meters above the sea level, and the highest in Almería is Vallarcal at 1,258 meters, but there are many more high mountain villages. The region consists mainly of a series of valleys and ravines that descend from the peaks of the Sierra Nevada in the north to the backbone of the region, which is the Great Valley laid out in an east-west direction, formed by the basins of the river Guadalfeo in the Granada part and the river Andarax in the Almería part. The south, the Sierra de Lujar, the Sierra de la Contraviesa and Sierra de Gádor with its ravines, where I live, which descend from these mountains to the Mediterranean Sea. It is an area of enormous natural beauty and great contrasts, because of its mild climate or weather, combined with a stable source of irrigation water from the rivers that flow down from the Sierra Nevada. The valleys of the Alpujarra enjoy a high degree of fertility, although because of the nature of the terrain, only small plots can be cultivated, so that modern agricultural techniques are not viable. Fruit trees abound, including oranges, lemons, persimmons, apples, figs, chestnuts, almonds, and vines. The largest towns in the region are Órgiva, Lanjarón, Almejíjar, Caldera, Berja, and Trevélez. My family used to spend the summer in Lanjarón when I was a child to drink its medicinal waters. The three white villages in the gorge of the river Poqueira are the villages of Pampainera, Bubión, and Capileira, and have been recognized as major tourist destinations. Nearby are other equally traditional villages of similar appearance, for example, in the municipality of La Taja, to the east of the Poqueira Gorge. The terraced shape of the land makes the houses in the villages appear to be stacked on top of each other, and their characteristic flat launa roofs, as well as chimneys, balconies, and tinaos, which stretch across the narrow stepped streets, give them a picturesque and unique appearance. Being an isolated place, local materials had to be used to build the houses. The technique that began to be used was to place chestnut logs close together on the load-bearing walls of the houses, and to place large slate slabs on top of these logs. When the slabs were laid, a very fine volcanic gravel called launa was used to cover them. It is waterproof and thermally insulating, and above all, very abundant in the area. High, low, and middle. The high Alpujarra, with its villages perched on the slopes of the Sierra Nevada, is the best known area of the Alpujarra, the most visited by travelers and tourists. It has diverse landscapes, among which the Barranco de Boqueira stands out, where three unique villages can be found: Pampaneira, Bubión, and Capileira. Similarly, Cañar, Soportújar, La Taja, Pitres, Portugos, Busquistar, Trevélez, Jubiles, Pérchules, Mecina, Bombarón, Yegen, Valor, Mecina, Alfajar, Mairena, Júbar, Larores, Vallarcal, Paterna del Río, Laujar de Andarax, Alcolea, Fondón, Beires, Almócita, Padules, Oanes, and Canjallar. The lower Alpujarra comprises the Guadalfeo Valley, the Sierra de Carchuna, the Sierra de la Contraviesa, la Hoya de Berja, Sierra de Gádor, and the Campo de Dalías. Therefore, the villages located in the valley of the river Guadalfeo, Órgiva, Torbizcón, Cádiz, etc., and in the coastal mountain ranges halfway up the slope from Gualchos, Granada, on the eastern slope of the Sierra de Carchuna to Aguadulce, and the villages of the Sierra de la Contraviesa, including Adra, belong to the lower Alpujarra, as do farther east the villages of the Sierra de Gádor, Berja, Dalías, and El Ejido, Enix, Felix, and some areas of Pícar, La Mojonera, and Roquetas de Mar, such as Aguadulce in the province of Almería. Often included in the lower Alpujarra, the small parallel mountain range between the Sierra Nevada and the river Guadalfeo is known as the Middle Alpujarra. It would include the villages of Puerto Jubilei, Almejíjar, Notaez, Castras, Niales, Timar, and Lobras. They form one of the main nuclei of the historical site of the Middle Alpujarra and the Taja. The classical Alpujarra with Pampaneira, Bubión, Capileira, Pitres, and Busquistar, and Trevélez, and the lower Alpujarra with Lanjarón, Soportújar, Órgiva, Torbizcón, and Cádiz are also very interesting. From Capileira you can climb the Mulhacén, which is the highest peak on the peninsula. Part of the Sierra Nevada National Park is the province of Almería, so a complete route through the Alpujarra must also take into account several towns in this province. In the Alpujarra of Almería are Vallarcal, Paterna del Río, Laujar de Andarax, Fondón, and Almócita, among many other villages. In the Almería area there is a bit of everything, mountain and plateau, and it has to be advantage that it's less exploited for tourism than the part of Granada. To get to know the Alpujarra, I recommend you to look for accommodation in a quiet village and to move every morning to get to know an area. As for the gastronomy of the Alpujarra, the food is great, as you can imagine. The traditional mountain cuisine stands out, so in winter I recommend you try the stews. As there is demand, you will find everything from the typical Alpujarran dish, a calorie bomb, to restaurants of all kinds. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.